Well, so here's what we've been tracking for you this afternoon. It's been 24 hours since non-teaching staff of the colleges of education withdrew their services nationwide in protest of what they describe as government's failure to improve their conditions of service, despite signing a memorandum of understanding in 2020. The impact of this industrial action is beginning to bite hard, with some of the colleges on the verge of closure. On your screens now, you have a copy of the statement released by the colleges of education, the Non-Teaching Staff Association. Portions of the statement right now you have on your screens, and I'll just read that to you. And it reads that pursuant to our release referred, and the indication of the number is there on the above subject dated 8th of April 2022, the leadership led by His Excellency Jonathan has continuously engaged all the stakeholders to see an end to this issue. There is some level of assurance that a meeting shall be convened as soon as possible to get the issue resolved, as well as some measures to put in place in various colleges to ensure that the continuation of academic work goes on for all trainees. Now, the statement continues to indicate that, however, after the engagement with local CENTSAG, and this is actually a statement we need to indicate coming through from the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana. They are also speaking on this matter about how it's biting hard on them. TTAG is actually indicating that as executives, they have engaged the national leadership and they have received some concerns on what is happening. And the first point here is that some of the students in the colleges have been asked to feed themselves until the strike is over. So that's the shocking one we're receiving now. And in some of the colleges as well, the absence of staff in the kitchen has actually forced some of the students to partly suspend their academic work to support the casual work that's going on campus. So these are some of the indications we're getting as to how hard the strike of non-teaching staff across all the colleges in the country is biting hard. So let's broaden the conversation here on the Pulse for you. Joining me now on Zoom is a host of individuals who have been monitoring this. First of all, Professor Mohammed Salifu, ST Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. He's joining us to help us understand what has been done by the Commission to resolve this challenge. Jonathan Junu is the National President of the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana, TTAG, also releasing a statement which I brought to you earlier. And then we have Frederick Fojo Yeboah, who's the National President of the Colleges of Education Non-Teaching Staff Association of Ghana. Larry K. Agbado is also the editor for the Colleges of Education Weekly Journal. So let me start off with you, Fojo, because obviously this has got to do with your group. I'm wondering what is necessitating this strike at this moment, particularly when we know that government is just moving out of engagements with your colleagues in the universities across the country.
Thank you. This is an issue that has been lingering on for quite too long. We didn't want it to end up this way, but fortunately, as a result of the appropriate authorities being hesitant, it has ended this way.
Frederick, we're having difficulties hearing you, but the point I hear you making is that you regret to take this action. However, it's based on a number of concerns. So share some of these concerns with us and explain to us why you're deciding to go ahead with your industrial action.
Yeah, like we said in the community, the first issue has to do with our first degree holders who are placed on level 16.
Okay.
Compared to analogous institution in the tertiary, where first degree holders with the same experience are placed at 17 high. In fact, since 2016, we've been engaging authorities to understand the fact that we have been shortchanged when it comes to first degree holders payment in the College of Education. And it has not yielded any results for us. And the second issue has to do with payment of migration arrears. When in 2016, we were elevated from GES to the tertiary. Some of us, we had an appreciation in salaries, which the government was to pay us migration arrears. Unfortunately, the update, nothing has been received. Our teaching counterpart has received theirs around 2019. And the third issue has to do with payment of generic allowance. Like generic allowance,
and Frederick, I need to say that intermittently I'm losing you. I need to hear the points that you're making. The last point you're making is about the salary for January. Explain clearly to us what's happening to that. We also need to understand and follow so we can get the matters addressed. So we'll try and reconnect with Frederick Foko Yeboah, who's the National President of the Colleges of Education non-teaching staff. In fact, they have served notice that they are withdrawing their services. In fact, it's taking effect as we speak. So there's a need for us also to check what's happening on the campuses for you. We'll do that shortly. But let me hear also from Professor Mohammed Salifu, who is the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. Prof, so here we are. We've not been able to get the full extent to which the non-teaching staff are, in terms of the concerns that they have, the full extent they wish to go in demanding a resolution of their concerns. But I'm sure that you are aware of what's happening to them, their conditions of service, and what the challenge is. From where you sit right now at your desk, do you have any solutions in the offing that you can assure these people of? Professor Salifu, if you're with us, I'm asking whether or not at your desk you have any information on the concerns of the group and what you're doing to solve it. So we'll get Professor Salifu for you. Jonathan Juno is also the National President for the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana. In fact, they are feeling the pinch of what's happening. They've just indicated to you that some of their colleagues are unable to get their meals from the dining halls. But let's find out from Jonathan how bad the situation is. Jonathan, if you can hear me, share with us your concerns as students and how you feel this activity is affecting you or impacting on campus.
Thank you very much. As we speak right now, the situation is very terrible on the various campuses. We've gotten to the stage where level 100s are writing their exams, and then CENTSAG is embarking on strike, which means that the students will go into the examination hall without food. And then the level 300s who are on campus are also facing the same challenge. The students are being asked to go and feed on their own. How would they feed on their own? How would they feed on their own? Allowances have not been paid for a very long time now, 7 months in arrears. So where would the student get the money from to go and feed themselves? And let me also put this on record that it has even gotten to the stage where some students would have to go to the kitchen themselves to prepare food. It's very bad. It's very bad.
In which of the colleges are you getting these reports from?
Come again, please.
In which of the colleges are you getting this report from that is gotten to the extent that students have to go and prepare their meals themselves?
Oh, yes. If you go to Baga, for instance, I was told reliably that at the point the students have to go and help some of the kitchen hands over there for them to prepare their food. And I think we shouldn't get to this stage. We shouldn't get to this stage. And such places, I was equally informed that students were called to meeting and were informed that we've gotten to the stage where you would have to bring some money so that we can get people to come and prepare food for us. Where would they get the money from? And on that, we are very clear on that point that no student should pay any money. The students are not in the position to hire anyone to come and cook. So they shouldn't pay.
From the statement that you,
They shouldn't pay.
yeah, from the statement that you have issued, it appears that it's not just a concern about food, but also academic activities is being affected
Yes.
On
Yes.
campus. How bad is the situation?
It's very terrible. Like I said earlier, it's very terrible. And we think that leadership must act as soon as possible to get the issue resolved. If not, the calendar will be distorted, which means that everything will just end. You see it. Leadership should act as early as possible to get the issues resolved.
The statement that you issued, and I'll be coming to the other stakeholders online with us, but Jonathan, the statement that you issued, you clearly stated that you've been engaging leadership of CENTSAG and some other stakeholders as well on the matter. What reactions are you getting from them on a possible return if that would happen anytime soon?
Yes. Per what I heard from CENTSAG until
Yes,
their
Jonathan.
issues are resolved. And the other stakeholders I spoke to, they gave that meetings will be organized as soon as possible to make sure that the issues are resolved. But I think it's delaying. Looking at the urgency of the situation, actions must be taken now. Action must be taken now. I was going to the market this afternoon and I met some students. I asked them where they were going and they told me they are going to look for food. Students that are supposed to be in classroom are now moving into the market to look for food. You see how terrible the situation has become. And I think that if something is there, it should be done now, as early as possible.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking what you were told by CENTSAG and also the various authorities that supervise your campuses.
From CENTSAG, they are not coming back until their issues are resolved. And then when I spoke with someone from Fair Wages, they told me they have plans in place to meet CENTSAG as early as possible. But my question is, how soon would that be? How soon would that be? We were expecting that even today, there should have been a meeting today. Because CENTSAG sent a signal for some days now. And we knowing how serious the issue, a meeting should have been organized today.
Right. Jonathan, just stay with us because we'll come back to you. This is just the start of the conversation. In fact, Larry K. Agbado is also editor of the college news as well. He's been following matters there as well. So, Larry, just help us understand what's happening. You've been receiving reports as well, and you've been hearing from CENTSAG. What do you gather is the case across the various colleges of education?
Thank you very much, my brother Wisdom, and good afternoon to colleague panels on the show. The situation in the colleges, I'm currently in the north, and the situation in the colleges in the north, it's not something so good to see. When you get to most of these colleges, you may have the feeling or the thinking that these colleges are on break, but that's not the situation. The CENTSAG members are actually on strike, and these are people who have felt that they have not been treated fairly when it comes to the colleges of education setup. They feel that other stakeholders such as CENTSAG, Brinkop, and others are giving more attention as compared to their case. And you see, we have people who are CENTSAG members who are taking just their basic salary for years without any motivation. We have a situation with the CENTSAG side where we have a lot of tutors who are moving to the traditional universities. In the few months to come or years to come, if we're not careful, we are likely to experience the same situation with CENTSAG members also moving from the colleges of education to other institutions because they're not being treated fairly. So, and you see, until we appreciate the situation they are going through, this is what we are going to say. The colleges currently are not in the best of shape. As I speak, 3 levels or 2 levels are currently home. We have only a level, I think level 100 and level 200 on campus now because there's no space to accommodate everyone.
Right.
And they start going on strike also. That means that after 1 or 2 weeks, if government doesn't come in to intervene, we are likely to witness a situation where the colleges might be closed down, as you said in your introductory remarks.
Right.
So basically, I think it's time they are also giving the needed. It's bad we have to come to this extent where they are going on strike before we have to start listening to them or taking their issues serious. The situation across the colleges, I think the TAC president rightly said, this morning I went to some of the colleges and you see students sharing banku for their colleagues to eat. And these are students that their numbers are huge. You go to the various libraries in the colleges and there's no one to attend to you. You go to the administration block and there's absolutely nothing going on there.
Right.
The places look virtually empty. So this is the situation on the ground. And
Interesting reports you're getting there, Larry. Fortunately, Professor Mohammed Salifu, Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, is joining us. So let's see if we'll get some clarity on matters here. Prof, thank you for your time. So are you aware of the concerns of CENTSAG and what's your commission doing to try and resolve the matters? Prof, if you can hear me, I'm asking about, you would have to unmute for us first of all, so we are able to hear you. But I was asking if you're you have that information on your desk as to whether or not CENTSAG has a concern, and what are you doing to address it? Professor Salifu, you'd have to unmute for us so we can hear you. So we seem to be still having a challenge getting through to Professor Salifu, but Jonathan is still with us. So Jonathan, Larry was just telling us earlier about some of your colleagues selling food on campus, and we know that it goes way beyond that. So Jonathan, if you can hear me, what will be your next line of action in trying to demand answers? Are we likely to see some activities on the student front just to mount pressure for results?
Thank you very much. I think that our first step is a release that we've sent out there. The second one we'll be doing is to make sure we meet the stakeholders one-on-one and then sit with them. If we get to this stage and nothing is done, then leadership will have to take some bold decisions, because we cannot allow the student to be on campus and be starving. We can't allow our student to be on campus and be starving. So when it becomes clear that there is no attention coming, leadership will have to take the bold decision. And let me also put this on record that I've had a chance to serve as an SRC president for 2 years. During that period, I've visited the kitchen for times, and I know how difficult it is for the women who work at the kitchen, the people who work at the kitchen. Some of them come to work at 3 a.m. They close late in the night, 8 p.m. They are not paid overtime. So if they are out with their issues, I think that attention should be given to them as early as possible.
Right.
For me, since I came to college, this is the first time I've heard that CENTSAG is going on strike. It means that they've kept it for long, you see.
What do you suspect some of their concerns anyway?
I think
yeah.
the release out there, they've mentioned a lot of things.
I mean, beyond the release, because you have said that you've never seen this happen on campus before.
Yes.
Yes. So
yes.
So that's why I'm asking about beyond the statement, the official statement. You feel that genuinely their situation, their conditions of service is not proper?
Yes, I strongly believe so. I strongly believe so. And let me also mention. Hello? Yes. Let me also mention this, that the decision where students were asked to bring money on board was simply because there is no money in the colleges. The principals are equally suffering. If you ask them, well, I don't know why they are not able to come out to say, but I know they are equally suffering, because they will tell you that feeding grant is not coming, we've exhausted our reserves, and we don't have anything. They are equally suffering. For 7 months now, allowance have not been paid. So how will the students take care of themselves? How will the principals feed the students? How? For 7 months. And I have been informed that the Minister of Education has done everything possible for the allowance to be paid, but there is some delay from the Ministry of Finance. And that's, we are finding it very difficult to understand why there should be delay.
So what may be even complicating the matters right now is that although you could have made up for what's happening on campus now with the stipends that you receive, the situation is now worse because you don't have your allowances for the past 7 months. How come you've been silent on that for all this while? Okay, so we have 4 months for that's 2020-2021 academic year. By then, there was a leadership in place. So they've handed over to us, and then we are now continuing. So this is our year. This is the 2021-2022 academic year. But then there have been arrears before we came into office. So government is not paying teacher training allowances any longer for the past 7 months? Yes, for the past 7 months. 4 months for 2020-2022, 2020-2021 academic year, and then 3 months for 2021-2022 academic year. And what is really making it very difficult for us as trainees to understand the whole thing is the fact that, you know, when allowance was cancelled some years back, and we were fighting the whole system why allowance was cancelled, we had support from government, then in opposition. They support us. So we don't understand why they are in power now, and then
the situation is becoming worse for us.
And not to digress, but these are critical points that you're raising right now. Are you certain that payments have not been made? And what exactly are the authorities telling you about this?
For now, we've not heard anything. We've not heard anything. And I am certain that as the national president, I can speak on authority that payments have not been made. We are hoping that from Thursday, there will be some engagement with our stakeholders, and then we will put issues on the table once again, so that we will get to hear something.
Are you likely to go on a demonstration in demand of your stipends?
As leadership, in making sure that our issues are heard, we have all options on the table. For us, we have a lot of options on the table in making sure our demands are met.
And indeed, this is just complicating matters the more. Let me bring in Frederick at this time, because he speaks for CENTSAG, so he kind of understands what's happening. Frederick, so earlier you were telling us about the January payment, the salaries which have not been released by the ministry. You've been engaging the ministry some more on your matters. Have you made any progress as of now, and why is there a deadlock on just trying to resolve all of these matters? Frederick, if you can hear me, kindly unmute so we can get the point you're making. The point about the salaries not being paid, and how there's a deadlock between your side and government, your employer.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Frederick, just make your points.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you very much. Let me make a correction here.
Okay.
It's not about January salaries.
Okay.
Generic allowance.
Oh, okay, so you're referring to allowances not being paid as
allowance.
of January. Okay, right.
So, generic allowance are car maintenance allowance, motorbike and bicycle allowance, rent allowance, owner-occupier allowance, overtime, tools and height allowance, and other allowances. That we are saying that the tutors or our teaching counterparts have been paid since 2021. And to date, none of these allowances has been paid to the non-teaching staff.
Right.
And we felt that it's discriminatory, and we want authorities to take us serious when it comes to welfare of the non-teaching staff.
In fact, I was having challenges hearing you earlier, and I'm glad that you've been able to correct all of this. So it's about generic allowances, and that includes quite a lot. The feeling is that looking at the current economic positioning that we have, we may not be able, or government may not be able to release the fundings to you, given what's happening, for instance, to UTAG and some other groups as well. Are you hopeful that something at least will come through for you?
Will you be okay when you are in a family of two and you need the same thing, and your father provided for the other one and leaves you behind? What happened? Anytime your other sibling requests for anything, the father provides. What will happen? There wouldn't be peace in the family.
Are you having a feeling? Are you having a feeling that government is not being fair to your group, CENTSAG? Particularly, you're comparing yourselves to university teachers. Are you saying that there's a bias on the part of government and, by extension, the Ministry of Education on this matter?
Not university teachers, but colleges of education teachers. I mean, there should be some form of non-biased when it comes to treating staff of colleges of education. This is what we are calling for, that the way we have been treated is worrying. For the past 6 years, we have been shortchanged when it comes to first degree holders placement, when it comes to migration arrears, when it comes to the payment of generic allowance, and then payment of interim market premium arrears. We have been shortchanged, and our colleagues, counterparts, teaching counterparts, are being paid.
How long do you intend to hold on with this approach that you're taking, the industrial action? How many days are we likely to see this? Because already it's biting hard on campuses across the country. Are you mindful of that?
Until we hear something positive from the government.
You're not going back until government makes effect payments?
Until we hear something positive from the government. I think the TAG president said that when you go to the kitchen, some of these women, they wake up at dawn around 2 to 3 a.m. Even when it's during exams, they have to come and sleep at the kitchen to make sure that these students are well fed. From 2016, no overtime allowance has been paid to a woman in the kitchen. No allowance, no overtime allowance. The drivers that drives our principals around all over the country at dawn, at night, no overtime allowance has been paid to them for the past 6 years.
Okay, let's get some answers, Frederick. Just hold on. We'll try one more time just to do this. Professor Mohammed Salifu is the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Council. Thank you, sir, for joining us. This time around, he's on phone. So the confirmation is out there. CENTSAG says they will not return to the colleges of education across the country until you resolve their concerns. Do you, first of all, know about their concerns, and what are you doing to resolve this?
I'm surprised they will say that they will not return until their concerns are resolved, because they should know that you cannot be on strike and have your concerns resolved. It's a simple, procedure governing labor relations. We have been engaged on these issues, and they know that we have made a lot of progress. But GTEC in particular has been very, very sympathetic to the issues that they have raised. You would have seen from their press statement that they listed some 5 items. Out of those 5 items, there's only one that came up, which is relatively new. All those other 4, we have made significant progress about them. CENTSAG, for example, knows about the wrong placement of first degree holders. That when they raised this point, GTEC was the first to support them. We made a recommendation to Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and Fair Wages indicated to them at the negotiating table that that was a matter that, based on GTEC's recommendations, they were going to look into that, and they needed up to the middle of March to validate what we have given them so that they can clear it. As we speak now, Fair Wages has obtained the information they want. They've addressed that. If CENTSAG had been minded to attend the meeting we invited them to, they would have, had this feedback. And they knew that Fair Wages was making time to validate the request. So that is not an issue as we speak currently.
Yeah, but they claim that has lingered for quite some time now. And
it hasn't lingered for some time. You see, negotiations take time. And they were at the table with Fair Wages. And Fair Wages said, give us up to the middle of March to get this done. So it's a week or 2 after. So if it wasn't being done, at least come back and say, look, we made this commitment and we still haven't heard anything. Where is it? Then you get the update. That's my problem.
And at least you are in a privileged position now. What do you see in the offer? Are we likely to see all payments being done and the arrears cleared? Is that what you're able to tell us or confirm to us now?
Yeah, so my point is that, you can't walk away from the table and expect the resolution of the issues. You need to be at the table to do that. And you cannot be on strike when these things are being done.
Yeah, and Prof, I guess irrespective, sorry for cutting through, irrespective of walking away, industrial action, whatever the case may be, the action is biting hard on campus. And I guess what government or perhaps the commission would want to do is to ensure that academic activities resume smoothly.
Yes, I think you should be holding them to account too as well. We called them for a meeting when they issued this statement. I don't know if you have seen their statement. It wasn't even addressed to Labour Commission or to GTEC. It's a press statement they released, and they only copied us and said they were going on strike. We saw that and we called them for a meeting. All the other issues would have updated them on exactly where we were with the issues. But they said they were going to come next week or thereabout. You can't go on strike and, disrupt activities and then decide to take your time when you've been called to come and see where we have reached with the negotiations. It's not fair on us. It's not fair on the students either.
At least we've heard from the group, one of their reps is on with us. He talks about the concern of bias, the fact that you've been able, and I'm not just specifically referring to your outfit, government in its approach has been able to deal with issues of UTAG expeditiously. So why not do same for their group as well? Yeah,
because you see, it takes time and process to deal with it. We dealt with their CENTSAG, which is their UTAG equivalent in the colleges of education. And there are issues arising from CENTSAG negotiation which is applicable to them because they have senior members in their group which will have similar conditions as CENTSAG. As we speak, Minister of Finance has taken advice from us. They are issuing a letter to indicate, the extension of some of those conditions to the eligible officers. And they should know that this is a very simple procedure to verify. Come for the meeting if you feel frustrated that you are not making progress with the negotiations. And at least we would have updated you. It looks like people, I think the practice of unions, resorting to strike is not helpful. People need to understand that the only way you can solve the problem is at the table. It's not outside the table. When you walk away, by law, we are not supposed to engage you until you come back.
Right. Prof, would like to hold on briefly. Let's hear from the group as well as to why they're not turning up for the meetings. So, Frederick, you had the concerns there from the Tertiary Education Commission. It appears that you're not willing to dialogue, giving the account of the commission. Is that exactly the case?
Not exactly. When we received the letter, on Wednesday, that is 6th of April. And our national executive are across the country, some at Bagabaga, some at Takrade, some at Mampong, some also at Dambai. We are across the country. And organizing ourselves to come will take time. And at the moment, as I speak with you, the vice president is burying his father at Garu in the north. And just Thursday, and then also the national secretary is also having an exams, which from last week up to this week, he's having an exam. So it wasn't something that is intentional. We even made a suggestion that if possible, we propose another date for them, that we were waiting for them to give us a reply.
But be it as may, at least there's some assurance that's coming through from the Tertiary Education Commission. They're, in fact, first of all, not happy that you're walking away and expecting that there will be some negotiations on the matter. So will you call off the strike and get back to the negotiation table?
We will only do that when we have seen a positive response from government.
What's your definition really of a positive response? I guess looking at what the labor law requires, obviously you would have to first of all call off the industrial action and then engage. You're not willing to compromise on that. Why?
The assurances that you are talking of has been on the table all the time. Anytime we are on the negotiation table, you'll be hearing the assurance. But when it's come to the implementation of these assurances that we are discussing, that is where the issue is.
Prof, what's your take on that?
Honestly, I'm, a little bit disappointed in the approach that they have adopted. Because, you see, on the item of the wrong placement, I'm just giving you an example, that it was at the table that this issue was floated, and if you ask him, he will confirm that GTEC backed them and said, no, this is in the interest of equity and fairness. This is how we must treat them. And Fair Wages says, okay, once GTEC has mentioned this, we will have to do some background check. When we validate that, then we will scale that up. He knows about it. They asked for 2 weeks to be done. The 2 weeks was the middle of March. So it's not giving you assurances that we are not fulfilling. This has been done as we speak now. They had the data that they wanted. They validated it. They moved it on. If you had come to the meeting, you would hear that this is an urgent thing. Because of that, you've declared strike action. It's very, very urgent to you. So is it not possible that 5 or 6 of you could have come? If the rest could not have come, at least the 5 or 6 of you would have come to get the update. Right. But you're not coming to negotiate. You're just coming to get information, which would have informed your membership that, after all, the issues that you are, agitating about are really, non-issues.
And Prof, at least we are getting that update from you now, which we're grateful for. But beyond that, there's also the concern about academic activities. What interim measures are you likely to put in place? We understand that some examinations are likely to take off in the coming days or are already going on?
Yes, I think the examinations are ongoing. Thankfully, they haven't been disrupted. The main areas where the disruptions have taken place is in a couple of colleges. I wouldn't say majority. A few colleges where the teaching staff have been intimidated to stay away, and the principals are putting in place alternative arrangements for the needs of the students to be addressed. I'm hoping that, once Labour Commission invites us, we'll get this matter.
So you're giving the assurances to parents out there that academic activities will not be affected. The fear is that, looking at what happened with the CENTSAG strike, a similar activity may happen this time around. Are you giving an assurance to parents?
No. This is a completely different, what do they call it, issue altogether, and the dynamics are different. So we are not likely to face the CENTSAG kind of experience. The principals are putting alternative arrangements for at least the feeding to be dealt with. That's the main part of it. That angle will be covered. But I'm really hoping that the CENTSAG people will get in touch and they see that this is, agitation that is really completely needless under the circumstances.
I'm grateful that you've been able to spend some time with us, Professor Mohammed Salifu, Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. Let's wrap up. Let me hear from you, Jonathan. So at least there's some leeway here. We know that the group is set to engage the Tertiary Commission in the coming days. What's your expectation going into those rounds of engagements?
Thank you very much. Our expectation as students is that CENTSAG should not go to the table with an entrenched position. Though they have a point, but they should be able to compromise. And then government should also do the same so that the two can meet halfway and then the issue is solved as early as possible.
Okay. Well, I guess we don't have much time, but I'm grateful, Jonathan, Juno, that you've been able to join us. Let's hear from you also, Frederick, your take on this. Prof is assuring that at least something will be done. So will you turn up for the negotiations?
As I speak with you, tomorrow we'll be meeting the National Labour Commission. Fair Wages has summoned us, and we will be there to represent the CENTSAG. Your
expectations?
My expectation that our request will be granted so that our members will have a better condition of service.
You don't seem to be happy about the assurances, at least we're hearing from Professor Salifu.
It's true. We've been hearing this all along, but when it comes to implementation, that is where the problem is. In fact, Prof have been very, very helpful when it comes to the issue of first degree. At Fair Wages, they have been very hesitant in reacting or responding to the issue of first degree issue. So
we'll see how that will pan out. I'm grateful that you've been able to join us, Frederick. Larry, I'll give you the last word on this. It appears that Larry, yes, precisely. Apologies for that. Just go ahead.
I think the words from Prof. Mohammed Salifu are quite refreshing. We hope they go by their words. I also want to use the opportunity to plead with CENTSAG. You could hear from the voice of Mr. Frederick that he's not so happy with the responses of Prof. But let's just give this a try and then see how, because their strike after 1 week, if things are not resolved, are really going to affect. I've never seen CENTSAG members so serious about strike issue like this. You go across all the colleges and everyone is putting on red armband. Everything is gone silent. Like everyone is totally down. So the earlier we get this issue resolved, the earlier it affects all other areas of our colleges of education. Thank you very much.
I'm grateful, Larry, that you've been able to spend some time with us. So, Prof, we're grateful. Perhaps you want to say a few words before we wrap up.
Okay. So, as I was saying, I hope that they turn up at the Labour Commission and they appreciate, the due process that is required. And I'm sure when they sit around the table, they realize that, this was just something that was completely avoidable. I really worry, when you hear people saying, well, we've been involved in this conversation for long, promises, and, I don't like getting involved in processes like that because it's not really a reflection of what has happened. There are timelines, that issues that come up, we discuss the issues, and it takes time to get these things done. And we have resolved issues. So it's not as if we've been involved in an ending discussion. So there has to be good faith in the engagement when they come. And I'm sure when the goodwill is there, we'll get to some resolution.
Right then. Professor Salifu, thank you for your time here on The Pulse.